Stand by alert. Death Star approaching. Estimated time to fire range.
Feeling about this.
Welcome, listeners, to episode 280 of the Skyhoppers podcast. I am one of your hosts, Ben, and I am joined only by my lovely co-host, Cole.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Yeah, you'll have to bear with us. We're trying something new that is going to make my lives easier. It's going to make our YouTube channel more consistent. It's going to do a lot of things. And also, it's bringing back a Patreon goal, or a Patreon perk, that has long since fallen by the wayside because we are just really bad at planning. Basically, all these live streams are getting streamed to... All of these episodes now are being streamed to an unlisted live stream. I'm going to use that video, this video feed, that if you're watching on YouTube, that is the video feed you're seeing. I'm just going to use this as our video episodes. I'm going to cut it and I'm going to download it, cut it in half. Half of it goes to After Hours. And of course, that is still locked for patrons. And then half of it is just the podcast. And now it looks a little less pretty for now because I've still got there's still some bugs to be worked out. You're just looking at a Discord screen share right now as opposed to the normal like overlay and everything that I had going on before. That'll come back. I just need some time to get it worked out and build out our graphical elements. But anyway, that's all boring. Nobody cares about that. You're here for Star Wars. And thankfully, Cole and I are here to deliver on that for you. How are you doing, my friend? It's been a couple weeks since we didn't podcast last weekend. We didn't podcast last week. I haven't talked to Cole, and I've grown accustomed to talking to Cole like twice a week.
It's been good. It's been a little bit quiet, but we did have D23, and that's, I'm assuming, what we're going to spend most of the episode talking about, but who knows with us. We are rampant rabbit chasers here.
We really are, and if you are a fan of our other podcast, The Bro Skywalkers, you will know we do not shy away from pretty much any Star Wars conversational topic. Now, I don't know what not to jump too directly into our main topic here. I don't know what I expected from D23. And from what I understand, a lot of info actually came out from D23. That wasn't just Star Wars. Like, there was a lot of stuff they announced. There was, like, Marvel games that got announced, Marvel TV stuff, maybe, movies. I don't know if any of that got announced.
Yeah, it's funny. I think the general consensus on, like, Marvel and Star Wars, at the very least, were, like, the two, that's the two big properties that Disney owns that are not Disney Direct.
Right.
I think most people looking at it were like, oh, we actually got more Star Wars than expected and less Marvel than expected. Well, weirdly.
And that's what I mean. Is like, I don't know what I expected. Mm-hmm. I felt, I don't want to say let down, but a little let down, because what we got was very cool. And I know I've gone on record in the past as saying, like, basically something to the effect of, be happy you get anything at all. Which, of course, is a very boomer opinion to have. But you'll
take your scraps and you'll like it.
Sure. But it's hard knowing that there are so many. We didn't see anything for anything that we didn't already know about. And correct me if I'm, well, I guess rather you can confirm or deny something for me. Is the Mandalorian trailer we saw the same one that was at Celebration?
I don't know if it's exactly the same, because I didn't go through and look at the bootlegs that are out there and, like, compare them shot for shot. I know a lot of the same content is in them.
Sure.
But it may not be exactly the same edit, because there were two different versions shown at Celebration. There was, like, the one shown at the main, like, studio showcase panel, and then there was a different, like, slightly longer cut of it shown at the Mando Plus panel, I think. And I think there were elements of both those trailers in this, but I
Okay.
don't know if it was all of the content.
Okay, you hear
But
that
it's at the
complaint?
very least very similar.
You hear that, complainers? Even the people at Celebration sometimes don't get all the content.
Yeah, you didn't go to both panels. You didn't get to see everything. So
Yeah. So I was really impressed by everything we got. There was a lot of really cool stuff in that trailer. Really loved that. The Tales of the Jedi trailer was, I noticed that you were frustrated about something that I also thought was a little, let me start by saying accessibility is very important to me. I think that's incredibly important.
Absolutely.
I try to enforce it in my professional life when I need to. And like, and I like to watch things with subtitles on. I think that's very important. I'm glad that that is there for people who need those subtitles or just prefer to have them. I did find it a little odd that the YouTube video had the subtitles baked in. And that from what you said, the only way to watch it without subtitles for the Tales of the Jedi trailer without subtitles was to watch it on Twitter.
that's the only place I found it. It was really weird. And as far as I can tell, it's still that case.
Just
I don't understand.
Again, definitely not a problem, but an odd choice that makes me, well, I guess if it was a mistake, it probably would have been fixed by now, because God knows that the people who somebody would have pointed that out. A Star Wars fan.
Well, it's funny.
Would have pointed that out.
I scrolled through the comments on the YouTube video, and I didn't see anyone mention it at all.
Well, and
I mean, I didn't scroll through all the comments, but all the comments that float to the top because of how the algorithm works. None of them were talking about it. I'm like, man, am I just a big old grumpy man that hates subtitles?
well, see, again, it's like I don't hate them at all. I like subtitles. It just is like I don't watch Star Wars with subtitles because, like, come on. It's like I don't need to. I don't even need to hear the movie to know what they're saying, right? But for a lot of other things, like, sure, just because the way TV is mixed now, and I think we've talked about this, the way TV is mixed now, and just like things, is like it's just hard to hear people if you're not on the right sound setup. And spoiler alert, frequently my home setup is not the right sound setup to be watching these things in. It's just like soundbar and like subwoofer, and that's it. And it's just like a lot of times dialogue just gets lost in the mix, so I don't always know what people are saying, and I'm not even hard of hearing or anything. So but anyway, that's
it's a frequent conversation on like r/movies and r/television subreddits. People talking about how badly things seem to be mixed, and there's always conversations like, "Oh, well, you must have a crappy sound system." And it's like, well, I feel like the problem is prevalent enough that there's definitely something wrong.
That's what I mean.
It's being done incorrectly on some end of it.
Well, it's just like I am of the mind that if you go out and you buy a $1,000 70-inch 4K UHD TV, you shouldn't have to buy a sound system to be able to understand what they're saying in the shows you watch.
No.
I don't think call me old-fashioned. I don't know. I don't think I think it's nice that kind of stuff exists for people who are interested. But I don't.
Yeah, my brother's got a killer sound system in his house, and I love going over there and watching movies because he has a huge TV too.
I bet.
Like we watched Dune a couple months ago over there, and it was just glorious.
Very good movie. I can't wait for the second one of that. Didn't that start shooting?
Yeah, I think it's already filming.
Yeah, that's sick. I'm very excited to hear that. But anyway, I don't mean to disparage D23 at all. I think the trailers we got were very good. I am just, it's hard to know that there are so many projects out there that are actively in development. It's not even like the Lando show where it's like, oh, that's on hold till Donald Glover is free or whatever. It's like there's stuff that is going, that is moving, and we didn't hear anything about it either. And it's just like, it's frustrating is the wrong word. Disappointing, I think, is the word, where it's just like, well, the Acolyte, I get that one's really far out, but that's one that I'm very excited about.
I think it's already filming.
I think it is too. It's just like we haven't even had a cast announcement or anything.
Yeah, there's been cast. There hasn't been like announcements from Lucasfilm, but there's been like Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah, sure.
The trades that are extremely reliable have reported like quite a few different castings for that, which is cool. But still, it's like I'm surprised they didn't at least confirm some of those castings at a big event like that, just to put it out there and have some
Sure.
official news circulating about it. But
Well,
Lucasfilm is Lucasfilm.
I was gonna say one of the last times we were together recently, we did a deep dive on this and Lucasfilm's lack of transparency. I don't think we need to do it again, but let it be known that I do echo your sentiment. I'm right there with you. I think it would have been nice to hear something about that, but there was a Skeleton Crew stills. Was it a teaser or something?
There was a still. I don't think they showed any footage at the convention. That's one of the things. It's kind of hard to say for sure. I don't know. I haven't looked like a deep dive on from the people that were there, because they did show some stuff there that they didn't show publicly. But I think Skeleton Crew, it was just the still that we got of Jude Law.
Okay.
And you could see like some people behind him too, I think, but he was the only, actually visible person.
And that one comes out.
And unfortunately, he is a human, which was a saddening thing to me. I was hoping he'd be an alien, but
Well, I will say, I know that we are kind of all, I think, on this podcast of the mind that we like nobodies in Star Wars. We don't necessarily like it when people, like, it's all right if they cast people we know, but we like it when they're not like mega famous. Jude Law, I would say, is quite famous, like a very famous actor, but somehow with the really famous people they've cast in Star Wars, they really know how to thread that needle of like, yeah, this is a famous person, but they don't feel like a famous person for some reason. Like Jude Law in Star Wars to me does not stand out like some other people would. Like if freaking Tom Cruise was in Star Wars, I'd be like, it's Tom Cruise. Like I
can't get around that.
It would always be there. That's Tom Cruise. But Jude Law kind of like I said walks that line. There was I don't know if it was a tweet or somebody, Pedro Pascal was quoted as trying to get Nicolas Cage into Star Wars, and I'm like, look, I'm a Nicolas Cage fan. I think he's a great actor who has really poor taste in roles a lot of the time. But
he's a man that just loves to work, he just takes everything.
Sure, but he's like, to me, he's like, it's too famous. However, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, if he played like a rough and tumble smuggler, Nicolas Cage could be actually really good in Star Wars.
If it was a role kind of like Mando, mainly like under a helmet or something, I think I could work.
Oh, I guess whenever you stick anybody under a helmet, it works out. But anyway, obviously, fun little aside, not a major thing.
And actually, before D23 started, we did get something else, or a couple of things, Star Wars on Disney Plus Day, which was the day before D23 started. There was the Andor special preview. I don't know if you got a chance to look at that. I mean, it's basically the same thing we saw at the IMAX screening.
I didn't dig it up because you said it was the same thing, and I'm just like, well, it's at the point where it's just, again, absolutely no shade to anybody who did go and watch it. Like, absolutely. Like, if you're excited,
not everyone got to go see the IMAX thing, so that's cool.
Exactly. That's what I mean. But it just means, like, for me, it's like that's crossing a line of like, that's not me. I don't go out of my way to watch every TV spot whenever there's a movie coming or every, it's just like, if it's an extra 10 seconds, I'll see it when the show comes out. And that's sure. That's fine. That's how I like to approach things like that.
I did see some people saying that because the way that little preview thing at the IMAX screening worked, it was like at the beginning of it, it was kind of like some footage mixed in with Tony Gilroy and Diego Luna talking about the project and stuff. And some people were saying that there was some additional bits of that in there too, but it wasn't, if there wasn't very much, because the whole thing was still about 10 minutes long.
Okay.
So there couldn't have been very much stuck in there. And then the trailer that was at the very end of it was a new one rather than the second trailer that we had already had at that point. So there were, like I said, it was a weird mixed bag of like new and old.
Well, it's one of those things too where it's like Star Wars or Lucasfilm is just getting so good at, obviously they're not the ones that probably cut all of their trailers, but they're getting very good at selecting and curating what they want to go into a trailer and what is okay to go into a trailer without spoiling anything or giving us anything that's like majorly new that could give away too much information. So I'll pass on a second trailer at this point. The show comes out a week from today, actually. That's terrifying.
And then at D23 they gave us another new trailer. So
yes, that's true.
It's like, my gosh, guys.
I think they have a lot of confidence in this show. I think
I
this
do
show.
too.
I think this show is gonna blow people away. And we talked about that with our Rogue One episode. Was that maybe last time we recorded? I just think the show is going to really blow some people out of the water. I think it's going to be so good. But
Yeah, and I think I'm not positive about this, but I think I saw somewhere that the review embargo for the first group of episodes is dropping tomorrow on the 15th, I think.
okay.
So
Okay.
we might start seeing some like press reaction stuff at the end of the week, basically.
Well, it's
So,
just,
keep your eyes out for that, and there might be spoilers floating around. I don't know. People are generally good about handling that correctly, but you never know.
I just think the show visually looks incredible. Like every time I
it's
watch a
stunning.
trailer, I see a still, I'm just like, this looks like Rogue One. This looks so good. And anytime I hear Luden, is that his name? Luden. One of these days we're gonna remember
Luthen.
it. Luthen.
Yeah.
Cassian Andor. Every time he goes Andor, I'm like, oh, I'm dying. I love this. This is the best thing.
Andor.
This is the best thing I've ever heard. I just are all of the Skarsgårds related? All acting?
At least some of them are. I wouldn't honestly tell you if all of them are,
Okay.
but I know at least some of them are like brothers, I think.
Okay. So yeah, anyway, Andor trailer, not much. So you say not much new to report there, right? Not a lot.
Not really. I mean, there's definitely some new shots in there, but nothing crazy.
Well, I mean, it comes out next week. I just can't.
Yeah.
It was one of those things, they pushed it back, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. And now I'm like, it's already here. What the heck? Maybe it's because it's the busy season at work, and my days feel like they're 10 minutes long. But I don't know what it is. It's almost here. So what else did we get? We got that.
Yeah,
We
the
got
Mando
the
season 3 trailer.
The Mando
was probably
season
the big.
3 trailer.
That was the big surprise, at least for me. Like, I was really only expecting to get something for Andor just because it was so soon, and then stuff about the animated things, and then we didn't even get any new footage for Bad Batch, and also got a delay for it.
I was gonna say
out
got
to
some bad
January.
news. Some bad news.
Yeah,
So
and there was a leak about that like a couple of days before, like one of the sites that had previously been reporting it as September or something, then like changed it to January, and everyone's like, oh, that's what it's going to be now. And then officially it did come out, unfortunately.
January 4th, you said?
Yeah.
Oh God. You can hear the end of the episode. I muted it. We're good. So again, listeners, you'll have to bear with us as I work through normally no one can hear that, but it's going to show up on the stream for sure. Also, Mogo, I apologize. I forgot to look at the stream chat. We are joined, I think, just by Mogo right now, but who is, notable patron and friend of the show. But granted, we did only, literally after we started streaming, did we tell people this episode was live. So I imagine that Tom will probably drop in a couple hours and be like, what the hell? Nobody told me this was happening. And I'll be like, Tom, you're right. No one did tell you it was happening until it started happening.
We're sorry. We're bad.
Mogo makes the great point of Celebration just happened a couple months ago. D23 celebrating the stuff we know or like focusing on the stuff we know is coming makes perfect sense. And I didn't mean to imply that it doesn't make perfect sense, especially because how long has D23 been around?
I really have no idea,
Because
and I think it's something they only do. At least I think they maybe used to only do it like every other year.
Okay.
But I'm really not sure how long it's been going on.
Because it just seems like one of those things that if you're in the know or if you're following things like we do, you're aware of its existence and you know what's coming. But I feel like the average person does not know what's happening. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems like it's a very weird... It exists in this very weird space of, like, it's kind of important, but it's also kind of not. And it seems
I think maybe it's one of those ones that has been going on a long time, but it used to be way more just, like, insular to, like, the industry.
Right.
Rather than a big public, expo event, especially since they've got Star Wars and Marvel now. And those have become integrated with it. Where used to those things were just going to Comic-Con.
That's true.
and weren't part of the Disney experience, as it were. And it's funny, we had Celebration, and then right after that we had Comic-Con, and then now we've got D23, and then next month I think is New York Comic-Con. It's like con season. There's just, one right after another, all these big events. And I'm sure there's other big ones too. I mean, there's the one that you went to,
Gen Con.
what's the Gen Con,
Gen
and
Con,
there's
but-
Dragon Con, and there's all these big conventions.
Yeah, Gen Con. Okay, I guess you're right. In terms of just conventions, it is convention season. But yeah, Gen Con disappointed me with the Star Wars showing, but I think that is mostly due in no small part to the fact that the Star Wars, and we've talked about this, the Star Wars tabletop gaming license, it seems to just exist in a state of limbo where it's like it's got these games that are really beloved and really well loved by a lot of people. But like the RPGs, I truly don't know exactly what's happening with the RPGs. I'm sure that info's out there. But I don't know. Apologies. Long day. But I will admit to only having watched the Mando Season 3 trailer one time. I thought it looked really sick. It's granted, this is just a trailer, but it seems like it is somehow, I'm sure we all remember me complaining that it's like, oh, well, Grogu's back now. Like, he's back with Grogu. The show's not about, it's about Grogu again. And now it's like, no, this season really does seem like it's about the Mandalorians. You know what I mean? Like, they really played that up in this trailer, and I was incredibly happy to see that. I mean, I was not thrilled to see Sundari, that's the capital of Mandalore, like bombed out, completely destroyed, but seeing the like Bo-Katan in the live action, like it looks like Clone Wars, it's like, it's very cool.
Yeah,
Very
the shot
cool.
of Sundari, that was like one of the money shots from the Celebration trailers, I believe. Like, I remember that from the end of one of them. Like, it cuts to it and the crowd goes, oh.
Mogo says that Grogu is a Mandalorian, and I'm like, well, you got me. You got me there. Like, Clan of Two, you're right. I just think, I think, and I say this as someone who didn't even hate the cameos in season 2. In fact, in some cases I really enjoy them. Like, in some ways, rather, I guess I like all of them, but I guess in some ways I should say I really enjoy them. I think this could be the best season yet. I really do think this could be the best and most focused season yet.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to be more serialized than the previous seasons have been, in the sense that, most of the episodes of the other seasons have been like pretty standalone. I mean, there's definitely like an ongoing narrative, but it's like, oh, this is the one with Ahsoka. This is the one with Boba Fett. This is the one where, he goes and they fight the Krayt Dragon on Tatooine. There's usually like, a contained standalone adventure type thing. Whereas this seems more like some kind of ongoing Mandalore specific plot, at least from what, little we can see here. There's not a ton of information. No. And it is really cool to see, we see the little bit of Grief Karga and, is it Navarro?
He looks so good. He looks so good.
It's really cool to see the evolution of that town, because it's the same town from the first season that we originally see. And it's like, you see it just like start to prosper more and more as every season goes on. It's like, wow, that's really cool. Just like see this growing evolution of it. And it kind of gives you, there's not really a good time sense in Star Wars. That's something that they're really bad about. But it's just like, oh, okay, definitely some time has passed because they've cleaned the city up a lot. And it's like, I don't know how long it's been, but there's been some significant time pass throughout all of this.
Yeah. And I think that I lost my train of thought. It's gone. It's gone. It just left. I was trying to think. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been playing the trailer through in like slow-mo while we've been going here, just looking through some stuff. Good. And there's one shot, someone had pointed out on Twitter or Reddit or something. There's one shot where he's flying is in one, like doing some starfighter stuff, and he's got he looks like R5 is probably one in the socket for it. But he's like flying by a ship, and the ship design looks to be inspired by the Eclipse. I don't know if you saw that. It's definitely not the Eclipse. It's not big enough to be the Eclipse, but the shape of it looks like the Eclipse.
So what you're saying is that it could be the Eclipse.
I mean,
It just makes
it's not impossible.
No, it's not.
Let me see if I can find a good screen grab for you.
Okay, I would appreciate that. Because, I mean, I honestly think that, and I wouldn't necessarily mind this. I think the Eclipse could be really cool. They've shown a penchant for sticking planet-destroying lasers onto Star Destroyers already.
Yeah, I really wish they had just gone whole hog and made the Eclipse for Rise of Skywalker.
They might as well have, right?
That.
They might as well have. And I think that for those who don't know, the Eclipse is Palpatine's flagship throughout the Dark Empire comic series, and basically, it's like the Executor, but like
it's a gif of there's a gif of the clip with the Eclipse, below as an image.
Okay. Well, of course, now I've got to figure out Discord again. Okay, there we go.
But the shape of it's pretty distinct.
It is pretty distinct. Yeah, I didn't notice that. That is.
It's a really quick shot, and to me, it does not look big enough at all to actually be the same ship.
I think you're right too. Now that I've seen it, I think you're right. I think that it's just probably just inspired by, if nothing else, because I was thinking, oh, well, it could be another flagship. It could be somebody else's flagship, maybe to be Palpatine's flagship at some point. But yeah, that's way too small to be anybody's flagship outside of some kind of like pirate king or something.
Yeah, but it still looks really cool. It still looks like a cool design. I mean, taking the Eclipse's basic shape and using it at all is pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's like anything else. I think I don't know, Cole. We both have complicated feelings on this. Or it's fine. Like I think it's at this point, being as small as it is. Depending on it is, I think I would rather it be more of an homage. Kind of like I think the best example of something like this is the, whatever they're called, the ore refiners, the ore crawlers in Rebels that are very much world devastators, where it's just like, this is something that existed in Legends, and we've repurposed it so that we're not doing the same thing, but from a certain point of view, like worse. Or different for the sake of being different. It's like, this is just a design that we like. It's a callback to this thing that existed, but it's nothing more than that. And it's like, that is fine by me. Fine by me. So I'd like to see with something like that size, I think I'd like the Eclipse to be more of an homage rather than a legit, just like straight up adaptation.
Yeah, because I mean, this looks like not even as big as like a Victory Star Destroyer, honestly.
It's like for those who aren't watching the trailer, maybe haven't seen it. It's like, we're looking at like CR-90, Tantive 4 type size of ship. So like significantly smaller than even just a Victory.
If you're in the trailer, it's at around like 55, 56 seconds in the trailer if you want to go look at it yourself. It's a really quick couple of seconds where it's like the camera locked to the N1 as it flies by, like looks like it's doing an attack run on the ship. So it definitely seems like it's an enemy starfighter. I mean, enemy ship of some sort.
I just think that's like freaking. I don't know. The Mandalorian is just one of those like The Mandalorian. Granted, it was the first Disney Plus show, right? So of course it makes sense. What I'm about to say makes sense on that axis. But I do really appreciate that the Mandalorian has kind of. Maybe not narratively so. Maybe I'm not as huge of a fan of that, but it's kind of positions itself as the anchor. It's like, this is the one that's like, I guess the way to describe it is it's not quite nostalgia, but I'm starting to feel that like familiarity maybe with the Mandalorian, where the other shows kind of come and go, but it's like, hell yeah, we're getting back to the Mandalorian. This is awesome. I know I love this. I know this is awesome. So I'm just very excited to see Mando season 3, and I hope that now that other shows are starting to pop up, Book of Boba Fett has happened, Andor is going to happen, Ahsoka is happening. That is still next year, correct?
as far as we know. That was another thing that happened at the end of this trailer. It just says streaming 2023, whereas at Celebration they said specifically February, and now they're not giving a month anymore. Some people have taken that to be like, it's probably not going to be February anymore, which, very well might be the case. Hard to say.
Well,
they're definitely like, they're keeping their options open.
I was going to say they are keeping their options open, and not to get too inside baseball about it. Is it possible that maybe Mando's getting delayed because they're still not ready to overlap Star Wars things, and Bad Batch is coming out in January?
Maybe that's one of the weird things, is that because now we now have like a pretty firm release schedule through January of next year, where we have Andor starting next week with 3 episodes, and then it's going to run for a total of 12 episodes, which I think will take it through sometime in November. But then sometime in the middle of that, we have Tales of the Jedi on October 26th. And that's all dropping at once, is one block. So that's going to be during Andor, like, no matter what.
Okay.
And then there's a gap, but we also know that in December, at least I think it's December, that the Willow series is starting.
That's kind of
and
the
that's
wild
another
card.
Lucasfilm property,
That's kind of the wild card, isn't it? Oh shoot, I'm trying.
And I don't know if we know how many episodes that's going to be, so I wonder if that's going to affect the timing of the other stuff coming after it.
Maybe. I am making edits to the stream as we speak. I finally found out how to get your handle to come up on the stream.
Oh,
But,
nice.
This font is very odd and create some issues. So pretend an @ sign is there. Cole is at Mando Wraith, as we're all aware. But anyway, this is completely irrelevant if you are not watching the stream. So or the video rather. So I apologize. As I said, I'm still getting stuff worked out. But anyway, as I was saying, Mando is just, there's something about it. There is something about it that I truly feel attached to.
It's never going to not be cool, especially now that we're getting in this season way more just straight up just Mandalorians.
Oh, I know.
There's never going to be something not cool about just seeing tons of Mandalorians flying with jetpacks kicking butt. You know?
I'm right there with you.
It's just inherently cool.
It is. And that's like, honestly, this is, the bounty hunter stuff is cool. Don't get me wrong. I feel like the show left that behind pretty quickly, in all things considered. And that's fine. Just like, I have my thoughts about Grogu originally, and of course I don't think he should die. I know that some people think that I think he should die, and I don't think that's...
he should die eventually. Everything should, but...
Sure. Sure. But these are different color yellow. Apologies, listeners. I'm done messing... viewers, rather. I'm done messing with the colors. My name is going to be a slightly different color yellow than Cole's, and we're all just going to have to be okay with that. But I'm done talking about that now. And...
yeah, I put another screenshot in chat for you. I want to know if something in this image tilts you as much as it tilts me. Weirdly. It's a picture from the trailer. Does anything about this image bother you?
It's weird.
Something about it bothers me a lot.
Listeners, here's where I'm at. Nothing in this image bothers me as it stands. Cole is about to tell me something that's going to ruin my whole day, though. I feel like. Although...
maybe?
Go ahead, Cole. Make my day. Tell me what's wrong with this image.
Orange helmet Mando on the right. His antenna is crooked.
Oh, it's bent.
I don't know if it's on purpose, though, because weirdly, it looks like the angle that it's been at makes the viewfinder curve line up with the helmet. So I feel like it might be intentional for the line of sight on it. And if that's the case, it's even worse. Because then it's like, oh, it's not damaged. It's just, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and see, that's what...
it doesn't look good.
That's one of those things, too, where it's just like... I think maybe if it was intentional, it's possible the idea was, and this is an image where we've got Din flanked by 3 other Mandalorians. It looks sick as hell, by the way.
Oh, it looks great. And I love, there's something from the EU even here that they've kind of maybe pulling from, where all these Mandos have mismatched armor pieces. And that's something that some Mandalorians did, where they would deliberately be like honoring their like lost relatives by wearing pieces of their armor in their original colors. I don't know if that's necessarily for sure what's happening here,
Cole,
but it could be. Which is really fun.
We've read too many Karen Travis books for me to not go, oh, heart, whenever you
Man,
say
heart,
something like that.
Because these are like lots of mismatched pieces. Like, oh my gosh, these people have lost so many people.
Yeah. So
that's where my brain goes, no matter what.
Okay, Cole, hear me out. I know this isn't our theorizing show, and you know that I like to separate our discussion from our theory. That's a callback to like what end of Bad Batch, I think. I don't know. What if rather than reclaiming air quotes reclaiming his honor and joining the Children of the Watch again, Din says, "No more. We are a clan of 2. We're going to expand. We're going to bring other people to our cause and our way." And then he does have the Darksaber. He is in possession of the Darksaber. So saying that other Mandalorians would follow him is not a reach at all.
It's not a reach, and I honestly I can't imagine that they're not gonna go the path of him realizing that the Children of the Watch and their way of doing things is not really the way. As much as that has like become a Star Wars catchphrase now, this is the way. It's also like it's a freaking cult that they're part of, and it's probably not a good way to live. Unfortunately, as cool as it all seems like, oh, never take off the helmet and all that good stuff.
Well,
I don't think that's something that's sustainable, and I think that he's got to break free of that. And it seems like he's regressing, but maybe he's going to find something that changes his mind on it.
I think it's one of those things where, I mean, if we can analyze Din a little bit, like he's been through a lot. He gave up Grogu. Grogu came back to him. He was prepared to die. I watched that scene where it's Boba and Din talking at Mos Espa when in the finale of Book of Boba Fett, and they're like, "We'll both die in the name of honor," and I'm like, "This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. This is the best moment in Star Wars."
Yeah,
I don't care what anybody
for as
says.
many problems as Book of Boba Fett has, man, it's got some great stuff in there.
It's really good. So anyway, I'm thinking back on that.
Die in the name of honor.
And
it's so great.
I'm like, multiple times he's been prepared to die. He maybe thinks he should be dead, for all we know, because of everything that he's gone through. So it would make sense to me that he's looking to protect Grogu, and to protect Grogu, he's like, I don't know. I need to retreat to something that is comfortable. I need to go back to the Children of the Watch. We can rebuild. They can help me protect this child that is in my care now. But yeah, I mean, I think that's awesome character growth for him to regress and we see a vulnerable side of him that we don't get to see all that often. And then he comes out the other side as, I don't want to say Mandalore, because I do want Bo-Katan to be Mandalore.
I honestly, I think Bo-Katan, I don't think she's got what it takes. I think she's too flawed.
And Cole, I don't necessarily disagree with
you. She wants it too much,
I don't necessarily disagree with you. But what I think and what I want are different things in this case. Because to me, she has lost so much. She has also been through so much. And during Rebels, we see her, I guess though, I mean, we do see her be a good leader in Rebels, but she's got a volatile streak in her that might, belie some greater, I mean,
she was part of Death Watch. She joined Maul and his crew for a while at least.
Yeah.
She's made lots of mistakes, and maybe there is a redemption in there that, could lead to a good leader, but as it stands right now, I don't see that being a good thing. I think if she became a leader at where she's at right now, it would lead to more bad stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think we'd probably end up with a lot of Mandalorian infighting, which is, historically has led to dark times. Has led to dark times for the people.
Mando on Mando fighting.
No good. So, I don't know. I'm just staring at the screenshot. It's so good.
Oh, like I said, anytime there's like more Mandalorians on screen, it's great.
Especially,
so I'm very excited.
Because like obviously Bo-Katan and her cadre of Mandalorians, I love them. I love how they look. The armor is so sleek. But if we're talking what I really love about Mandalorian armor, it's the beat up Mandalorian armor. That's what I want to see. So that's why whenever Din got his new suit of Beskar, I'm just like, hey, buddy, listen, I'm super happy for you. I know that's a big deal for you. I think aesthetically you've taken a step backwards.
I still think he really needs some paint on it.
Paint it, please. Please paint it. But hey,
to me, like the original armor, it was ugly, but like you said, it had a grit and a story to it more. And this like pure chrome armor, it looks cool, but it also is just
cool
in
a different way.
Nice.
It's cool in a different way. And there was some concept art, and I think in both books, actually both art of books for season 1 and 2, that's got him in that brown armor wearing like a blue helmet, like a neat deep blue helmet, and I'm just like that.
Yeah. Actually, that
looks so good.
I've got they made a Black Series figure that's based on like the credit concept art. One of them, and it's got like a blue stripes and stuff on it, and it's probably what you're talking about.
Yeah,
it's something similar.
It looks really cool.
But I really was hoping until the Razor Crest got destroyed that maybe he might go with a like paint pattern like that with the yellow stripes, which I think could have looked really cool to match the Razor Crest. But and now his Naboo Starfighter, it's got yellow stripes too. It's silver with yellow stripes.
I think it's probably only a matter of time before I think too, Din has been out of touch with greater Mandalorian culture for a long time. He's been part of this cult.
I don't know if he's ever been part of traditional Mandalorian culture.
He hasn't. And if we're looking here, if we're again drawing speculation from Legends, and just kind of I don't even think it's completely crazy speculation. Even just looking at this screenshot of these 4 Mandalorians as it stands on its own, if you ask me, because the colors are so disjointed, yeah, to me the colors have some significance. And we know from Legends that the colors of armor have some significance.
Yeah, the particular paint schemes all had different meanings. Like I said, that it was a kind of family tradition that wear a piece of armor from a deceased relative to honor them. So
yeah. And
having a single mismatch like shoulder plate or something, it was always like, oh, okay, that's because you're honoring someone. It doesn't mismatch because art. They're not all Sabine.
I was gonna say, which isn't to say you can't get artistic with your armor.
No, absolutely not.
Because God, her armor is sick. I still haven't painted that Legion mini though. I will say, it's still very intimidating.
Something I will say that does kind of bother me now that it's become more and more prevalent looking at this screenshot. So you got Din and orange helmet on the right, and then 2 white helmets on the left. And I kind of hate that all the female Mandalorians have the curved like Night Owl style helmet.
Yeah.
To me, that's like it was cool that it was like a unique helmet, and that maybe the Night Owls all had that. But now that's just become, oh, that's the girl helmet. It's kind of dumb, It
is. It is like we don't need the gender helmets. I'm kind of right there. I'm there with you, and I'm hoping that maybe it's coincidence, and it's like or maybe maybe these people had been signed up with Bo-Katan, and now they're it's like there's a lot of gray area there, which is context we don't have. But no, I'm kind of right there.
Yeah,
with
for
you.
sure.
I'm right there with you. It's just it doesn't need to be like that. And I kind of think that maybe, when you think about it, we haven't seen that many Mandalorians. Granted,
no, we haven't
over the course of this show. So I do think that you make a valid point, but I do think that after this season, maybe we might say, they really do think it's the girl helmet. We might be able to draw a stronger conclusion at that point.
Yeah, because I mean the helmet's like the two different ones on this in this screenshot. They're not identical. Like the one on the far left is has like more angles in it, and the other one's got like more curves to the visor. Kind of like the armor is similar, but it's still like that general shape. That's not the straight T visor. It curves down. It's like it feels like they're just. It's like, oh yeah, the girl helmets have this general shape, and the guy helmets have the straight T visor. And like, guys, you didn't need to do that.
Mandalorian helmet gender reveal party.
Yeah, so strange.
I know. So we'll see. I mean, it's definitely like not gonna ruin the show for me if that doesn't.
It's one of those like I've got a pin in it. If I keep noticing it, it'll start bugging me more and more. You know. Just like, you know, if they continue to not name aliens, I will get very mad.
What was it? There was some heat in the Discord the other day. Where
it was. Someone put a shot of like all those like Nikto and everything. It was like, what do you want to bet that none of these guys have names?
And then Tom was like 0. They're all, at least one of them gets named, and I'm like, hey. I was like, yeah. The guy in the front.
Hope so.
The guy in the front's Nikto man. That's like. Well, and I okay, hear me out. I think Frog Lady, as far as, like, as a character, great, love her. Naming wise, terrible, absolutely terrible. If they're gonna do that, they need to leave these characters unnamed and do what they've always done, which is leave it to the expanded universe, leave it to the authors and the comic writers to give these characters names, because they're not going to do crap like that. They're not going to say, yeah, it's Frog Lady, and everyone will think it's funny because it's a meme. And it's like, I know she's got...
There are some species that, like, in Legends at least had that kind of thing going on. Like, I think, didn't Nikto or Weequay, like, most of the time didn't have, like, specific names or something? I think there was something going on with that was a little bit weird. Or, like, Gand. Where the Gand like had the whole naming convention where, like, if they weren't famous, they would just call themselves Gand, and it was only like if you were really well known that you could even use your real name. It was a really interesting, that was an interesting like culture thing.
It is. And Cole, I know that you agree with me on this. I think Dave Filoni, very talented writer. I think Jon Favreau, also very talented writer. I think they are both. I think The Mandalorian's in good hands with them by and large. I'm not going to give him that much credit. She is not called Frog Lady because she has not gained enough esteem.
No. That's not what I was saying. That's not what I was saying.
I know,
there were ways to do that kind of thing, and it, you know, not.
That's what I mean.
Not just be lazy, whatever.
Yeah, I just don't think the thought even ever crossed their mind. They're like, oh yeah, Frog Lady, whatever. Because to me, that's like 1976, like Snaggletooth or Hammerhead name, you know, like it's very much like, we don't think this is going to matter outside of the prop department, so we're not going to give her a name besides Frog Lady. And it's like, okay, it is not 1977 anymore.
Yeah, it's not 1977, and also all of those were just background aliens, and it didn't matter.
Frog Lady was
a character, a main character in an episode, and it's okay that she couldn't speak basic, that Din couldn't understand her. All of that's fine. But then there's the one point where she gets the droid. She uses is it Q0, Q90, whatever droid to like talk. Then she like hacked the droid.
Yeah.
Like at that point, she could have introduced herself. She could have done anything, and doesn't do it. But to me, like probably the most offensive one is the Mithril. Because they literally just call him Mithril the entire time.
There was like nowhere you could have. I think you're right. That is the worst one. Not to turn this into a complaint fest. You're right, because they referred to him as Mithril. And it's like, that's his species. You literally said that was his species last season. Why are you doing this? I just don't. And that's what I mean. It's hard because it doesn't ruin the show. It doesn't even ruin an episode for me. It's just we're just nerds, and it's just frustrating because it feels. I've said time and time again, If you care about what you're doing, and I can tell you care about what you're doing, I might not always like it, but I'll respect it. To name a character by their species repeatedly, or to have the databank say that her name is Frog Lady, to me feels like you don't care. And maybe you don't, and that's fine, I guess. I want you to care. You being the royal Lucasfilm, the royal you, like, I want you to care. But whatever. You can't make people care, I guess. It is what it is. Oh, man. We talked a lot more
Sorry
about that
for
than I thought
dragging
we would.
us down that rabbit hole again.
We talked a lot more about Mandalorian than I thought we would. Because I was like, hey, it's a short trailer. I watched it. I was like, hey, this looks cool. Can't wait for the show to come out.
Whenever it does.
Whenever.
Next year sometime, probably.
Did we get anything else?
Tale of the Jedi, we didn't really talk about the trailer yet.
Yeah, did we have a trailer yet?
We saw the trailer at
but there was no public. No public trailer yet.
Yeah, there was no public trailer, and I think this is the same trailer, or at least very close to it.
Right. There was nothing in it to me that looked incredibly new. I just still think the show looks awesome. I do have some concerns. The Ahsoka stuff, I think the Ahsoka stuff is unsurprisingly all gonna be good. I'm afraid that the novel will become even less relevant, even less consistent, and then those things drift out of sync even further. And I really love Dooku Jedi Lost, and I'm starting to wonder if we could see some negative overlap with Jedi Lost.
It's possible.
It's possible. I don't necessarily think it's a given, because comparatively his time with Qui-Gon is, like, from what I remember, not a huge, like it's definitely about Dooku, right? It's not about Qui-Gon. So Qui-Gon felt more like a cameo, was not always the focus of what was happening. Not definitely more than cameo, but hopefully you know what I mean, listeners. I'm just trying to prepare myself. I'm trying to prepare myself because I don't want to do it again. And I think, honestly, I do. It sounds cynical. I think I just need to be ready. I think I just need to be prepared and say, yep, I knew this was going to go against something that I'd already seen, because Dave Filoni didn't write it, and he felt like Count Dooku is his character, I guess, and he can do whatever he wants. But of course, I'm accusing him of things that I do not know that he has done.
Yeah, and we don't know 100% any of it's going to be overriding anything.
No.
We don't know 100% that is the sixth brother in the Ahsoka one. We don't know that for sure. Lots of stuff we don't. And I think even E.K. Johnston even made a Twitter post about, someone asked her about the Inquisitor, and I think she said she thinks it's supposed to be a different Inquisitor. So maybe it's not going to be deliberately stomping over anything. I really hope so, but I don't have a lot of faith that it's not.
I don't either, and I think
past experience has taught me to be cynical about it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to try to go into it. Oh, how embarrassing. You could see my taskbar on stream. I think I'm just going to try to go into it with, like, I'm just going to appreciate this for what it is. And I think, honestly, I do feel like it'll be one of those things. I think the cynical way to say it is you'll get desensitized to it as time goes on, or at least I will. But I think the more positive way is, like, is like anything else. I'll just get used to it. I'll just get used to the fact that this is the way things are going to be. The problem is that all these shows are still relatively new. Like, we're going on our almost third year of Disney Plus. Like, new regular Star Wars content is still very much a new thing. So it's, I think it was always going to be this way. I think it's just a matter of kind of making peace with it. And I keep thinking I've made peace with it, and then something happens, and I'm like, no, it shouldn't be this way. Things aren't supposed to go this way.
Make my peace with it, as it were. To me, it's always going to be frustrating. And especially if it continues to just be Dave Filoni, basically.
Yeah.
That's what makes it really frustrating. It
It's that
really
it's
feels
one
like
guy.
it's just him. And I know he's not the only one involved in the creation of all this stuff, but Ahsoka is his baby, his character, and it really feels like he feels that he's the only one that can do stuff with her, and anyone else does anything is like, well, we'll see about that.
It's funny because you can hear him saying it. You can hear him saying the way he says, well, we'll see about that. You know, it's,
You know?
I don't do a good Dave Filoni, but and that's what it's
Man.
funny too because that's why it's one of the things that frustrates me almost more than anything is that like I can hear him saying it in my head, and I know that if he said that at a celebration, if this came up and he just outright said that, I'd laugh. I'd laugh when he said it because I'm just like, I like you, Dave. I do, and that's why it hurts me and cuts me so deep whenever you do something like this.
Yeah, and there's one extremely minor thing in the trailer that I want to point out that somebody else had pointed out that was really weird. I've got it pulled up. I've got the Twitter one pulled up because I don't want to look at the subtitles.
Oh my god.
So at 1 minute and 17 seconds, there's a shot. There's the one shot of Obi-Wan in the
Oh yeah.
in the trailer, and I assume a lot of assumptions here because we don't know everything. So the Ahsoka shorts, we know the first one is the baby Ahsoka with the animals and stuff. We saw that one at Celebration, so we know how that one
Spoilers, I
plays
guess.
out. Yeah, spoilers, but you know that the one in the trailer that's got little baby Ahsoka, that's the first one, and then the second one seems to be set middle-ish of the Clone Wars, where she's got her season like later season outfit, you know, not the tube top outfit, and she's training with Anakin, and we see clones in Phase 1 armor still. So it's like, it has to be midway-ish, right? So we have a shot of Obi-Wan.
I know
and
where
he's wearing
this is
his, like,
going. I know where this is going.
we have a shot of Obi-Wan, and he's got his, like, you know, early armor with the full shoulder armor and shoulder pads, but he's got the mullet.
Why are you doing this to me, man? Why are you doing this
It's
to
really
me?
weird.
Now, one thing, consider this, and I'm not saying you didn't think about this. This is the first thing that popped in my head. Maybe that second one covers a span of time.
I hope so.
I certainly do
hope so.
too. Because
I hope so.
it's like, Dave, this is Clone Wars. You did this. You did this one. You have no excuse here.
Yeah,
You
and
did this one.
It seems like maybe it might be that it could be Plo Koon over to the left of them standing. So it's impossible to say. But it's really weird that he's got his mullet, because in Clone Wars, he never has it.
No, never.
He goes
And-
straight into his Episode 3 style
and if-
haircut. And I think that was because doing the longer hair with the animation style was harder,
Sure.
honestly. I think that's part of what, and now that's like, trivial, because they've been doing it so long. Animations come so far.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. So
Well-
it's one of those things that in my mind, I'm like, are y'all just gonna like retcon pretend that he had the mullet the whole time?
That's what I mean. And I think if what you said
It's a
about
dumb thing.
if it's Plo Koon, then I think that pretty much kind of confirms that this is Ahsoka coming to the Order, and then
Yeah, maybe we're gonna kind of see like, you know, a span of her, like her training throughout. That'd be cool.
that'd be cool.
And
I'd like that.
I don't want to immediately go to negative. I'm like, they're doing it again, because that's where my brain goes, because I just don't trust them.
You've been hurt so many times, Cole. I mean, I'm right there with you, but I do think
Occam's
Occam's
for the pain.
Occam's razor would dictate that what it's going to be is there's a time frame. There's some time skips in that one.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think that's probably what it is. So I'm gonna.
And it's such a quick shot in the trailer. It's like someone even caught it was weird, but then I paused and like, yeah, that's totally the mullet. What the heck?
It's one of those things that like I think I didn't think anything of it. And and of course now that I've thought about it, I'm just like, oh god, what if it's not what I'm saying it is? And if I watched it in the context of the show, I'm right now, I'd be like, oh, of course he's got the mullet right now, you know, because this is very early on in the Clone Wars.
Yeah, totally.
But
And
we'll see.
You know what they could have done that would have been even cooler to me? If they were going to give him the mullet, why didn't they give him the Gindi style armor? That could have been sick.
We know why.
Just to see it in
We
the
both
style
know
of
why.
animation.
We both know why.
We both know why, unfortunately.
Cowards.
But they weren't afraid to give nods to it, though.
Yeah.
Like Asajj wears that outfit at one point, and they bring her fan starfighter in there. So, you know.
Yeah. For better or for worse, they bring that fan starfighter in. Yeah, that is not universally loved on this podcast. Let it be known. I don't know. Tales of the Jedi, it does look very good, and I am torn because part of me is just like, let this be a one and done thing. Like Dave was writing these little stories or whatever, and he fleshed them out, and they turned into TV, and it's like awesome, cool. That's what I think Disney Plus could really excel in, is those little one-off things. And honestly, it could open the door for those much desired Legends or whatever adaptations that we've wanted for a long time. It's like that could be step one, something like this, a small, more self-contained animated thing. But at the same time, if it's good, I'm gonna want more. I'm gonna want more, and like the Dooku's.
I really hope they do more, just because to me it's such a shame that they're wasting half of this on Ahsoka, a character that's got so much attention already,
and is going to continue to get more attention,
and is continuing to get more attention. It's not that I hate Ahsoka. It really isn't. It's like you did this show called Tales of the Jedi, and the two characters that you chose, one of them is a character that already has tons of content and is no longer a Jedi. And the other one is a Jedi that we've had, a decent amount of content, but nothing deep dive really, but is also no longer a Jedi.
Yeah. What I would love, honestly, I know this is kind of, well, you said it, not me, so I don't have to be worried about you being hypocritical. I would really love to see one, like 3 about Qui-Gon. I would love to see Qui-Gon, and that actually leads me into the last thing I wanted to talk about tonight. You are kind of slower to watch these things, I know, than I am. I watched Jedi's Return, the Kenobi feature, the behind the scenes. It was really good. It was really good. We got a lot of good. I swear, Ewan and Hayden hug like 15 times over the course of that thing. It's really nice to see. And then as soon as I saw Qui-Gon on the screen and we were getting nearing the end of the series, I'm like, oh, please interview Liam Neeson. Please interview Liam Neeson. Please interview Liam Neeson. They interviewed Liam Neeson. And he was just like, he's like, it's been, 20 years. Not 20 years since he played Qui-Gon, but 20 years since he was live action Qui-Gon. 20 years plus, I guess, at this point. But he heard the story. He was just like, yeah, I respected everyone on it. I heard the story. I'm like, yeah, I'm 100% in for this. And I'm just like, I love that Liam Neeson is still willing to come back and play this character who is beloved by a significant number of people in a movie that at the time was not super well received. It's like Liam Neeson is like a respected actor, and I love that. I mean, Ewan McGregor is too. Like, just the fact that they are willing to come back and do it, it means a lot to me personally. And granted, they didn't do it for me. They don't know me. I don't know them. But it's just like, yeah, we talk a lot about how, like, our Star Wars, we're in that weird spot where it feels like our Star Wars is the OT and Bantam era Legends, like, as kids. But, I mean, you can't say that we didn't come up with the prequels as well. And that it kind
absolutely.
of, like, I never seriously disliked the prequels. I went through the phase that everyone does, when you're in like middle school or whatever, and everyone's like, "Oh, those aren't any good," and it's like, okay, no, I don't believe that. But it's just like, no, those are my Star Wars as much as anything else. So to see Qui-Gon back on screen, to see Obi-Wan back on screen, I'm like, yeah, this rips. This is so good, and I want more. I always want more Qui-Gon. I've never made this.
Yeah, Qui-Gon's great.
He really is.
I'm so glad that Liam Neeson's willing to, like you said, he came back for the little brief moment in Obi-Wan, and we know he's coming back for Tales of the Jedi as well. At least briefly. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
They said that at the celebration, I believe.
I couldn't remember. I knew his son was voicing
they talked
him.
about they talked about that he was doing voice for him, and also his son is voicing a younger version of him.
Yes. Okay.
So I don't know where that's going to fit, like, in the timeline of the episodes, and like how much of each of that we're going to get, but still cool.
He is
in Yaddle.
I guess. Yeah. Cool. I don't know. I highly recommend that feature though. It's got a lot of like good behind the scenes stuff. At one point, Deborah Chow mentions that she's a huge fan of the Muppets. Grew up being a huge fan of the Muppets, and it's like you look at some of the creature designs and you're like, Of course she chose these ones.
Of course.
These are the ones that look like Muppets. They look like Muppets. Which I love. I love because Star Wars at its core is about Muppets. Or some of the most important Star Wars characters have been Muppets, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to add for this evening? I truly have no concept of how long this episode is. I think it's about the same length as normal, but I didn't take note.
Yeah, it's not really. The total time I'm showing on my Audacity is like 2 hours 10 minutes.
Okay, that's pretty.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah,
consistent.
I think the only other stuff we got Star Wars wise, like there was a couple of like screenshots from Ahsoka, the Ahsoka series.
Yeah, I saw those
Like
floating
Ahsoka,
around.
and then like there was a shot of Sabine in front of the mural from the very end of Rebels. So they're definitely recreating that. Oh, and we got the Ezra casting
Oh, we did. Yes, we did.
confirmed,
Now,
which
that
is
was,
it's not the guy that was been rumored forever, but the guy that they got, like spinning image is so weird.
he does look a lot like an older Ezra Bridger. And it's so hard because it's just like, not even Ahsoka, just don't like Rosario Dawson. We don't need to, I think it goes without saying at this point. But the Ahsoka show, it's like the Rebels characters, the Rebels crew. Like I love these characters, so I think the show is going to be good because Rebels, because Ahsoka, and in spite of Rosario Dawson. But anyway, those are my takes. And I know that I can speak for Eva and Dakota as well when I say that. So, anything else? I mean, we can get into stuff. Well, next week is Andor. I don't know. God only knows what we're going to do next week.
Literally, next week is the Andor, so I assume we'll at least talk about that a little bit. Whether or not we'll have time to watch 3 episodes.
I'm thinking maybe we do like the first episode. Oh, that could throw us off, I guess. Or maybe we try to do 1 and 2, and then we like do 3 and 4, and kind of do a Rebels thing. I always say the Rebels thing. I always call it the Rebels thing, which is every other week.
Yeah, the problem is that 3 episode like drop at the beginning is going to make it difficult.
I know. We definitely just kind of have to like, especially because even if we're only talking about 2 or 1, I'm going to watch all 3 of them. It's like the only reason we're not talking about all 3 of them is because we have some co-hosts that are kind of slackers.
And
being honest.
it really does depend on how long the episodes are too. I mean, if they're like an hour long each, that's a lot of stuff to get through.
It is
in a day. Where you got to work and everything too.
Cool. What if they're all 20 minutes long?
See, and if that's the case, like no one's got any excuses.
If they're all 20 minutes long, I won't have excuses, but I will have a lot of anger, I think. It's just like, wow, 20 minutes. That's a bummer. No, if that's what they give us, that's what they give us, and it'll be fine. But
I think at lowest, 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think you're right. I just do know too that I hate it when things are too short. I know I like it when things end, but I hate it when they're too short because I think season 2 of The Mandalorian, episode 6, episode 14, The Tragedy. Too short. Way too short. Way too short. Half an hour. That is not enough time for that episode. It needs to go on significantly longer than that.
Especially when we had, the first episode that was straight up an hour long.
And that was great. Boba Fett
was
in
awesome.
That was they could have even just split the difference. Take 20 minutes off of, episode 1, give it to I don't know. This is irrelevant. If you're ready to get out of here, Cole, where can people find you on the internet until the next time we are able to chat?
I am at Mando Wraith at the thing below.
There was an @ sign there. I just can't make one with this font. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, I'm at Mando Wraith on all this different social media stuff, and I'm on Abro Skywalkers, where we just finished covering Slave Ship, and we'll be coming back to do a,
Death
interlude
Troopers.
Episode
Death
relatively
Troopers.
soon.
We're covering Death Troopers. We're not covering Death Troopers. Don't get excited, Mogo. I'm telling you right now, it's not going to be Death Troopers. One day, but not today.
But it could be anything. Ben's a wild card guy. He'll do
I
anything.
really am. I can tell you like to stick to the series we've got going on. I am like,
I don't like to leave them hanging for too long.
no,
you know?
I agree. And that's what's nice is that means I get to be. You are the responsible one. I get to say, screw it. Let's just read the back door. Let's start there. I would never. I would never do that.
Ben, no.
I would. Don't worry. I would never do that. But yeah, that we do a Bro of Skywalkers. That's another podcast we do. You can find that wherever you're listening to this podcast, except not on YouTube yet. We're thinking about it. But Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, wherever, I don't know. It's up in all those places. This podcast is on Twitter, SW Skyhoppers. You can email us, skyhopperspodcast@gmail.com. I think that's everything. I actually don't know how I'm going to end the stream. I think I can just pop the little thing back up. Maybe.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm kind of afraid now, though. Oh, good Lord. Put that there. Oh, God. Yeah. A lot of bad things are happening over here. Our names are gone. Listeners, nobody has anything else to add, and everything is falling apart. This is the Skyhoppers podcast signing off. No one can see you, Cole. The logo's
big
up.
Walking carpet out of here.
You're a funny little boy. Wah.